Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada. So thank you all so much for joining today. So yesterday, verse number 17 was completed. So we'll start with verse number 18 today. So would someone like to read the verse and the translation? Anyone? The shloka and the translation? No? Okay, then I'll start.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes. Yes, Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Yes, you want to read, Prabhu?
I will try Mataji.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Bhave asmin क्लिशामानानाम् अविद्या कामकर्मभिः श्रवण सम श्रवण समर श्रवण स्मरणार्हाणि करिष्योनिति केचन. I am wrong, Mataji. Please rectify,
No, no,
please.
Prabhu. It's absolutely fine, Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah, translation, Prabhu.
भवे अस्मिन् क्लेशमानानाम् अविद्या कामकर्मभिः श्रवणस्मरणार्हाणि करिष्यन् इति केचन. And yet others say that you appear to regenerate the devotional service of hearing, remembering, worshipping, and so on, in order that the conditioned soul suffering from material pangs might take advantage of gain liberation. Advantage and gain liberation. Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Prabhu, do you want to read
Shall
the
we?
first paragraph? Yeah.
Oh, okay, Mataji. Okay, 12. In the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the Lord asserts that He appears in every millennium just to re-establish the way of religion. The way of religion is made by the Supreme Lord. No one can manufacture a new path of religion, as is the fashion for certain ambitious persons. The factual way of religion is to accept the Lord as the supreme authority and thus render service unto Him in spontaneous love. A living being cannot help but render service because he is constitutionally made for that purpose. The only function of the living being is to render service to the Lord. Therefore, the duty of the living being is just to serve him only. Unfortunately, the illusioned living beings, out of misunderstanding only, become servants of the senses by material desire. This desire is called avidya or nescience. And out of such desire, the living being makes different plans for material enjoyment centered about a perverted sex life. He therefore becomes entangled in the chain of birth and death by transmigrating into different bodies on different planets under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Unless, therefore, one is beyond the boundary of this nescience, one cannot get free from the threefold miseries of material life. That is the law of nature. Hare Krishna Mata.
Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. So here Kunti Maharani is saying that some say that you appear to rejuvenate the devotional service of hearing, remembering, worshipping, and so on, in order that the conditioned soul suffering from material pangs might take advantage and gain liberation. So this verse itself, this prayer itself is showing Krishna's all merciful nature, right? Because uh, even though the living entity, the jiva, is rebellious and wants to enjoy separately from the Supreme Lord, but still the Lord just like a loving parent would do, always gives a chance to the jiva to gain liberation, to get free from the miseries. But he does not force, he never forces the living entity. Right? Some people say that, okay, when it is dukhalya mashashvatam, when the world is full of so much suffering, why doesn't Krishna just, forcefully take us all back? When this world is, useless, then why doesn't he just take us back? He doesn't do that because he wants the living entity to have the desire to go back. He's not that forceful kind of a parent who will just force the living entity to obey what he's saying. Krishna gives so much help. He gives us different avenues so that in some way or the other, we are able to re-establish the relationship that we have forgotten. So from Krishna's side, the love never stops, but the living entity forgets this. And being forgetful of our original nature, that is why we are here. But the Lord doesn't just let us go. That, okay, you rebelled, now go and suffer. And we are suffering also because of our own karma only. Now, it's not that Krishna is trying to torture us in any way. No, it is just that whole mentality of trying to enjoy independently that makes us do so many sinful activities. And then once we have done those sinful activities, then the law of karma definitely is applicable. It is only fair. And so that is why the living entity is stuck in the cycle of birth and death. But the Lord comes, he's like Prabhupada is mentioning that Krishna says that he appears every millennium just to re-establish the way of religion. So, which shloka is this from Bhagavad Gita? It's a very famous shloka. I'm sure you all are able to relate to this shloka,
यदा
where
यदा
Krishna.
हि धर्मस्य
Yes, Mataji. Yes. So Krishna says that yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. So whenever there is a decline in religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium just to re-establish religion. And also Prabhupada says that the way of religion is made by the Supreme Lord. So this is also from Srimad Bhagavatam, where it is mentioned that dharmam tu sakshat bhagavad pranitam. So, Prabhupada says that no one can manufacture a new path of religion, as is the fashion of certain ambitious persons. So, right now, also, there are many organizations, so called spiritual organizations, who have manufactured their own path of religion. Okay, now people get attracted because people don't really question that what is the basis of a particular organization. So anyone who gathers people and then they do some little meditation and then they sing some bhajans. So in a way, people start feeling a little peaceful, and that is what people think is the ultimate thing. And so that's why many people get attracted to these new paths of religion. But actually the true religion is something that can only come from Krishna. Dharmam to sakshat bhagavad pranitam, it has to come from Krishna. So that's why this very this common sense should be there, that what am I following? Just because something makes me feel a little happy, something makes me feel a little peaceful and relaxed, does that mean that this is actually religion? And the other sad thing is that people don't know the ultimate objective of religion. The ultimate objective of following any dharma or any spiritual path is not to get materially happy, but it is to finally get the ultimate happiness, the real happiness, where one goes back to Krishna and doesn't have to come back ever to this world of misery. Right now, if with some meditation and little bit of sattva guna, if I'm able to make my material situation better, I mean, okay, that it is better than being completely in passion and ignorance. At least coming to the level of sattva guna, it is a little better, but that's not the ultimate. But people think that it's the ultimate. So that's the saddest thing, that when the real path is actually there in the form of organizations like ISKCON, where we come and we study and we understand that the actual goal of dharma is to go back, to Krishna, is to develop pure love for Krishna. And it is not about making our material situation better. What happens in our material life, that happens by Krishna's arrangement. Okay, but The whole objective is not to make my material situation comfortable. So this first thing is this whole manufacturing of new parts of religion. So we have to be very careful. And now in this world of social media, so many messages float, so many WhatsApp messages. Anyone can just float anything in the name of Bhagavad Gita. People can quote anything, and innocent people who don't, I mean, innocent in a way, but also ignorant rather, who don't go and actually pick up a Bhagavad Gita and read it. His Holiness Swayam Bhagwan Keshav Swami Maharaj was saying that once he was distributing books, and he was distributing Bhagavad Gita, Back to Godhead, all these magazines. I mean, the magazine and the books. And then he met an Indian person. So this is probably in England. So he met an Indian gentleman, and Maharaj was trying to give him a Bhagavad Gita. And that person said, he was a little elderly. And he said, "Oh, yes, yes, of course, I know Bhagavad Gita. This is my culture. Definitely, I know." And then Maharaj asked him that, which is your most favorite chapter? And that person wasn't answering. So Maharaj said that my favorite chapter is chapter number 19. And that person was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, mine too, mine too, mine too."
No, 19.
Yeah, so that's what Mataji. The whole thing is that we don't go and read our scriptures. Parents don't read, so children don't read, and that's why the whole the brainwashing happens so fast because we don't know what is there in our scriptures. So we get attracted by others, so many different things. But Prabhupada is saying here that the factual way of religion is to accept the Lord as the supreme authority and thus render service unto Him in spontaneous love. So here, let us pause for a few minutes and understand what is the meaning of spontaneous love. So spontaneous love is actually the level of Raga Nuga Bhakti. So when we were studying the nectar of devotion, this whole concept of Vedi Bhakti, Raganuga Bhakti, Bhav Bhakti, Prem Bhakti, this was explained at that time in great detail. But let us revise that now because it is very important to understand these concepts. Sometimes there is a confusion between Raganuga Bhakti and Bhav Bhakti. So some people start thinking that Raganuga Bhakti means that's the level of Bhav Bhakti and Prem Bhakti, but that is not right. Actually, Raganuga Bhakti is also a part of Sadhana Bhakti only. So Sadhana Bhakti has two parts. One is the Vedhi Sadhana Bhakti, and the other is the Raganuga Bhakti. And then after this, the whole, the when the devotion really matures, then one comes to the level of Bhav Bhakti. Right. So it is very important to understand the difference between Bhav Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti, and also the difference between Vedi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. And also, it is very important to understand that many times, people may wrongly think that they have reached the level of Raganuga Bhakti when actually they have not. And it is a very internal concept. It is not something that we can see externally. And that is why let's just, discuss this for a few minutes. So, Vedi Bhakti, what do you understand when you hear the term Vedi Bhakti? Anyone? What is your understanding when you hear Vedi Bhakti?
Totally, we follow all the rules and regulations like 16 rounds, and then we
Yes,
worship the deities.
right. So it is a process of discipline following the rules and regulations. Then what is Raganuga Bhakti?
Spontaneous love for Krishna, there should be greed. Greed should be there, Mataji.
Right. Yes, Mataji. So now Raganuga Bhakti is when one spontaneously, like Mataji said, that word is spontaneous. That means we don't have to think.
It
And
just
we
comes,
just
yeah.
want to, yes, it just comes. One wants to serve Krishna. It's like when we are hungry, we don't have to think that now I have to, should I eat or not eat. It's just natural that one will eat, right? So when bhakti comes naturally, that is the stage of Raganuga Bhakti, when one does not analyze, think, But in Vaidhi Bhakti, one is still, still it's of the previous stage because one has to follow the rules and regulations in discipline, whether one wants or not. But in Raganuga Bhakti, there is no, concept of not wanting. One just wants to serve Krishna lovingly. And here, one follows in the footsteps of the Ragatmika devotees. That means those devotees of Krishna who are in complete spontaneous Leela of Krishna in the spiritual world. So, like one may want to follow in the footsteps of Yashoda Mai. Now, one can never become Yashoda Mai, but one follows in the footsteps. So, that is the feeling. So, in Vedi Bhakti, the main trigger is rules and regulations. The devotee is doing something because there is a rule about it. And then, when it becomes mature, then the person comes to the level of Raganuga Bhakti. So then love comes at a later point, but initially it is driven by rules. So, and if we have to go back to Krishna, we have to go back to Goloka, then one has to come to the point of Raganuga Bhakti. But the very important point here is that spontaneous love does not mean that we can become whimsical, that I'll do whatever I want. I feel like doing it, so I do it. It's not like that. Raganuga Bhakti also, the devotee is following in the footsteps of Ragatmika Bhaktas. So it is not like what I want to do, but it is what they are doing for Krishna. What are the devotees of Goloka doing? How are they serving Krishna? I want to serve Krishna that way. So their love, no, the devotees of Goloka, their love is spontaneous. They can do anything with Krishna. And Krishna, and that is because they know what actually makes Krishna happy. So Mother Yashoda can tie Krishna to a grinding mortar. She can also show a stick to Krishna. And Krishna's friends, they can tease Krishna and they can fight with Krishna. They can ask Krishna to lift them. They can have a wrestling match with Krishna. Whatever they do spontaneously, Krishna loves that. But that is not something that can be imitated. So, as I mentioned, that sadhana bhakti is divided into two main categories based on the motivation of the practitioner. So, Vedi sadhana bhakti is more regulated devotion, and Raganuga sadhana bhakti is spontaneous, affectionate devotion. But both types involve engaging the senses in the service of Krishna, and they act as a bridge between initial faith and pure love. So, when one comes to the level of Raganuga bhakti, that is so important in Goloka because there one forgets that Krishna is God. One loves and serves Krishna not because Krishna is a supreme Lord, but just because Krishna is Krishna. The feeling is of pure love. It is not because of awe and reverence that is found in Vaikuntha, and it is not that I have to love Krishna because Krishna is the supreme Lord. They just love Krishna. But how do we learn Raganuga Bhakti? We can't do it just by our own imagination whimsically. The Raganuga Bhaktas also, they are in their heart, in their mind, they have reached that level of spontaneity. But externally, they still follow the rules. Right? It's not like when one reaches a level of Raganuga Bhakti, one just ignores all the rules. It's a very advanced stage because the whole existence of a Raganuga Bhakta centers around Krishna. How to make Krishna. Without thinking of what I am feeling, but it is just centered around Krishna. Like what would Yashoda Mai do? What would Nand Baba do? What would Krishna's friends do? That is the highest stage. But even when devotees have reached that level, that is done in their mind. Externally, they still follow all the rules and regulations of Vedi Bhakti. They don't disregard all the rules, but internally they are situated at the position of the Atma. And so in their mind, they have that spontaneous interaction with Krishna. So externally, they are not doing any seva aparadh, they are not breaking any rules. So we see now all the great devotees in our movement also. Just even we take Prabhupada's example. Prabhupada's level was so high, but did he ever break the rules? No. Never. Even in the difficult situations in America, Prabhupada was following everything perfectly. Even when his health was not good, he was following everything. And I recently heard this, this conversation or the speech by His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj. Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj, I'm sure you all know, he's a very illustrious disciple of Srila Prabhupada. And if you have seen the video where Prabhupada, in his last days on this earthly planet, when he's in Vrindavan on his bed, the dictaphone is kept very close to his mouth. He's very weak. And then there are some devotees who are near Prabhupada. So one of them was Jayadvaita Maharaj. He's so close to Srila Prabhupada. Jayadvaita Maharaj's disciple was His Holiness Kadam Kanan Swami Maharaj. He left this earthly planet a few years ago. And Kadam Kanan Maharaj was in Vrindavan in his last days. And his whole body was inflicted with pain because of cancer. And Jayadvaita Maharaj was saying that in his last days, he told Kadam Kanan Maharaj that because even chanting had become very difficult for Maharaj. So, it would sometimes take him the whole day to chant his rounds. So, his Guru Maharaj was telling him that it's okay. It's okay. You can not chant, or just even one beat can count as one whole round. It's all right. But Kadam Kanan Maharaj said that, Maharaj, please don't give this order. How can I not chant? No, so even in that condition, even in that difficult condition, he was following everything. So, this is how we need to understand that this stage can never be taken cheaply. Raganuga Bhakti doesn't mean that I'll just do whatever I feel like doing. The Raganuga devotees, they still follow all the rules and regulations externally. Internally, their heart is connected deeply to Krishna. So, we can understand this with one example, that if one wants to cook for Krishna, and that desire is coming naturally, but to cook for Krishna, one will still need to follow a recipe now. It's not like I can just throw in whatever I want because I'm feeling spontaneous desire to cook for Krishna. No. So we will need to follow the path of those who know cooking. We cannot do just the cooking whimsically. Similarly, if one has this desire to feed Krishna, now we cannot feed Krishna the way Mother Yashoda was actually feeding Krishna. So that expression of that love is done by the act of offering bhoga to Krishna. Okay, so here the few terms we need to understand is that spontaneous doesn't mean whimsical, because the whimsically done things may not be pleasing to Krishna. And our love is different from the love of the Goloka Vasis. So their spontaneity is acceptable to Krishna. And that is why we should reach a stage where our spontaneity is in line with that of Goloka Vasis, and that will be pleasing to Krishna. So in our Gaudiya Vaishnava theology, Raganuga Bhakti is classified as a stage of sadhana bhakti. It is definitely higher than Vedi bhakti, but still the rules are being followed. And Raganuga Bhaktas, they follow in the footsteps of the Ragatmika devotees, but externally they will be executing the rules of Vedi Bhakti. So it's very important to understand this, that our ultimate objective is to render service to Lord Krishna in spontaneous love. But that level should not be taken cheaply. Okay, so one cannot say that I got up in the morning and I want to just do Aarti for Krishna. I'm spontaneously feeling the desire. I don't even want to take a bath. No, we cannot do like that. We have to go take a bath. We have to be clean. Everything has to be as per the rules and regulations of worship. Then Prabhupada says that a living being cannot help but render service because he is constitutionally made for that purpose. But our actual purpose is to serve Krishna. But when we forget that, then we start serving other people. So whether it is, at a very high level, it could be serving the nation, serving humanity, serving society, or then, next level is serving our family. And nowadays, people don't even want to serve their family. They will stay away from their family and then they will get a pet dog or cat and they will serve them. And that pet becomes their whole life. But this shows us the inherent nature of every living entity is to love and to serve. But it's just that we are directing it at a very wrong place. Our duty is to serve the Lord. And now, because Prabhupada says we are, out of misunderstanding only, we become servants of the senses by material desire. And this is avidya. And out of such desire, the living being makes different plans for material enjoyment centered about a perverted sex life. So this means any attraction between man and woman, that also is included here, and all these things that are driven by our lusty desires. And lust is not just the physical lust, but also any desire for, prestige, adoration, and all those things. And because we have misunderstood our position, as Prabhupada says, that this is just a misunderstanding. Our inherent nature is to serve, but we serve in the wrong place. And therefore, the living entity becomes entangled in the chain of birth and death and going from one body to the other body. And unless, therefore, one is beyond the boundary of nations, one cannot get free from the threefold miseries of material life. So, the misery that will keep coming because we have become servants of the material desire, servants of the senses. And the senses need enjoyment. But the real enjoyment comes when one serves the master of the senses, Rishikesha. But not knowing that, one looks for enjoyment in the material world. Everybody is looking for happiness. Everyone. It's just that we are looking for it in the wrong place. Okay. Okay, now let's read the next paragraph. The Lord.
Mataji, one question, Mataji.
Yes. Yes,
At which
Mataji.
stage, now once we come to Raganuka Bhakti, anybody,
Mm.
so
Mm.
in what stage, which stage does one see the Swarup? Right through we are servants of the Lord.
Yes.
At which
Yes,
stage?
Mataji. Mataji, that comes after the bhav stage, when one is in the bhav stage.
Okay.
But even then, devotees say that if one starts getting some realizations about one's swarup or some, some such feelings, then one should definitely first approach one's spiritual master.
Yeah.
And then, this again is not that we can just decide on our own. One should then tell the spiritual master, and the spiritual master will know, and they can guide properly. That
Okay.
are we really at that stage, or are we just having some kind of illusion? So that
Illusion, yeah.
also has to be done with the consultation of the spiritual master.
Yeah. Okay, Mata, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Swati Mataji, you want to read, Mataji, the
Yes,
next para?
Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji.
The Lord, however, out of his causeless mercy, because he is more merciful to the suffering living beings than they can expect, appears before them and renovates the principles of devotional service, comprised of hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping, praying, cooperating, and surrendering unto him. Adoption of all the above mentioned items or any one of them can help a conditioned soul get out of the tangle of nescience and thus become liberated from all material sufferings created by the living being illusioned by the external energy. This particular type of mercy is bestowed upon the living being by the Lord in the form of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Hare
Can
Krishna.
I
Thank
read?
you, Mataji.
Yes,
Yeah, okay,
yes.
Mataji, you can read the next para also. We'll discuss together.
In this very important words, the words bhavesmin mean in this world, material world, the word bhava also means grow, and it refers to that which has taken birth. In the material world, there are six kinds of changes. First, there is birth, then growth, and then that which has been born has grown, stays for some time, produces some byproducts, and then dwindles and finally vanishes. These six changes are called Shed Vikara. The body, for example, takes birth at a certain date and then it grows and stays for some time. From the body comes so many byproducts in the form of sons and daughters, and then the body becomes old and weak, and finally, when it is very old, it dies. Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you.
Hare
Dandot
Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. So Prabhupada is saying that the Lord, out of his causeless mercy, because he's more merciful to the suffering living beings than they can expect. So here we have to understand that uh, we cannot really be at a stage where we can say that, yeah, I deserve the mercy that Krishna is giving, because Krishna's mercy is more, he's more merciful than we deserve. And that is, that's what Prabhupada is saying, that he's more merciful to the suffering living beings than they can expect. So he appears before them and renovates the principles of devotional service. So Krishna is constantly giving us a chance to revive our lost Krishna consciousness, our forgotten love for him, and because that is what is actually going to ultimately make us happy. And what are these different processes? It's like hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping, praying. And here Prabhupada uses a very important term, and that is cooperating. So that is wonderful, because we have to understand that to actually get closer to Krishna, we have to cooperate and work together, because we have to move the mission forward. And if, sometimes there may be disagreements between devotees, like His Grace Moglila Prabhu sometimes says uh, that, oh, okay, disagreement may be that on this Janmashtami, are we going to make gajar halwa, or are we going to make moong dal halwa? So this is a very sweet and simple disagreement, but there may be some complicated disagreements also. But are we putting our ego first, or are we putting the movement first? If we are putting the movement first, that means we are putting Srila Prabhupada and Krishna first. And that is what we need to keep doing at every point. And it is not easy to do. See, because Kali Yuga, right? Everyone has their own way of thinking. We all have our own conditionings and different attitudes, different natures, different upbringing. So there will be times where we will feel like, we feel left out, or we feel dejected, or we feel that this is not working out. Such kind of feelings will come, but we have to understand that so much more important than what I am feeling is that this movement should go forward. And Prabhupada said that in his last days, that you will show your love for me by how you cooperate. So Prabhupada is mentioning this very important term here, that cooperation amongst devotees is very, very important. Because if we don't cooperate and there is a fallout between devotees, then the whole movement collapses. And that is that would be such a big disadvantage for the whole humanity, right? Because as we have all discussed many times, where would we be if Srila Prabhupada hadn't started ISKCON, right? So ISKCON is, and devotees they are saving people all over the world. They are actually literally saving lives. And do we just let this very important movement come in problem because we fail to cooperate with each other? No. So our egos, our thinking must always be kept back, and the mission should always be in the forefront. So that's why cooperation is very important. And Srila Prabhupada, that's why said that for a leader, Shravanam and Kirtanam should be top class. In material sense, when we see any leader, generally they are very passionate people. But in the spiritual life, a leader should have very high sattva guna. He can engage other people who are very passionate and all in doing different sevas. But when the leader is at the sattva guna level, only then can we have cooperation. Okay, so that is very important thing. And also the Lord's mercy. We can't understand that, the way Krishna's mercy works. Actually, sometimes that is a problem. At least speaking about myself, that we think that we are not getting mercy of the Lord because things are not going our way. But Krishna's purpose is not to make our material life smooth. Krishna's purpose is to give us the ultimate happiness. So if we have sincerely tried to, follow the path of Krishna consciousness, then we have to be sure that Krishna is protecting us. So whatever may happen, it may look very adverse, but we have to have that faith that this is Krishna's protection. I may not understand the way it is coming, but his hand is there. Just yesterday, I was hearing this short talk about by His Grace Gaurang Prabhu, where he was saying that sometimes some people just leave our life. Now we may be very attached to some people, but we see that they are just moving out of our life. So then Prabhu was saying that this doesn't mean that Krishna is making us lonely. This just means that Krishna is freeing space in our life for better things. So in this is one such example. Other some some other situation may be happening in our life, and we find it difficult to see what is there for me in this situation. But then that faith in Krishna's Krishna's judgment, we have to have that. His Grace Amrendra Prabhu says that the problem is that we have faith in Krishna's strength, but we don't have faith in Krishna's intelligence. That okay, or his decision making. So, because we think that decision should be mine and strength should be Krishna's, that is how my life should run. But the strength is also Krishna's. The decision should also be Krishna's, because he's our best well wisher. He is Suridam. He is our best friend. So that conviction should be there. But Krishna's protection is always there. And Prabhupada is saying that this can help adoption of the above mentioned items or any one of them, like hearing, chanting, remembering, etc. Then this can help a conditioned soul get out of the tangle of nations and thus become liberated from all material sufferings created by the living being, illusion by the external energy. So, this is the way of getting out of the illusion of this world, and thus we can get liberation from the material sufferings. And this particular type of mercy is bestowed upon the living entity by the Lord when he comes in the form of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya was distributing bhakti freely. So, like that it comes na patra apatra na dekhe. He is not seeing whether one is qualified or not, whether one is pure or not. He is distributing his bhakti freely. So this we can understand how merciful the Lord is. Lord Krishna himself is so merciful. And then he comes as Lord Chaitanya, who's the most munificent form of the Lord. So this type of mercy is bestowed upon the living entity by the Lord in the form of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we should feel very fortunate and very grateful that we are in this movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We have this connection, we can, happily call ourselves Gaudiya Vaishnavas. I mean, that is such a great thing. So any kind of problem that may be happening in our material life, this is one thing that should always make us happy, that I'm very blessed that I'm part of ISKCON. And we should also keep making this very, sincere effort to stay here, to stay in the movement, and not let any small petty matters take us away from the movement. The next paragraph was where Prabhupada says about bhavesmin, that means in this material world. So in this material world, there are six kind of changes, right? That is called the vikar, the shad vikar. So a person is born, they grow, then they stay for some time, and then there are some byproducts, then the body dwindles, and then finally death. So these six changes are called shad vikar, like the body, for example, takes birth, grows, stays for some byproducts are there in the form of children, then body becomes old and weak, and finally it dies. So these changes happen to the body. Now, in the next paragraph, let's read about this further. Okay,
Hare
someone
Krishna
like
Mataji, when you
yes,
read
Mataji.
this earlier para just now, you
Yes,
said
yes.
something that we think the decision in anything is mine. What is Lord's? You said something, I missed that point.
We believe in Krishna's strength,
Hmm.
but we don't believe in Krishna's decision making or his
Okay.
intelligence. So we think that this should happen and Krishna is powerful enough to make this happen. So this should happen. But sometimes that is not good
Hmm.
for us. So Krishna's intelligence and Krishna's strength, we should have trust in both. Okay, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, so this paragraph, but when the body is finished, anyone wants to read?
I read Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, please.
But when the body is finished, I'm not finished. When the gross body comes to an end, I am still present within the subtle body of mind, intelligence, and false ego, and the subtle body carries me to another gross body. Although everyone has to accept the subtle body, the scientists and medical men cannot see it. I have a mind and you have a mind, but I cannot see your mind and you cannot see mine. I have intelligence and you have intelligence, but you cannot see my intelligence, nor can I see yours, because they are very subtle. Similarly, the spirit soul is still more subtle. So what will the materialistic scientists see of it? They cannot see the mind, intelligence, or false ego. What to speak of the soul? Therefore, they say the body is everything and there's nothing more. Actually, however, that is not a fact. Can I
Hare Krishna.
continue, Rani?
No, Mataji, we'll read till here
Yeah.
only. Thank
Okay.
you so much. Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada is explaining, like in the previous verse, it was all about the body going through different changes. And then finally the body is finished. But when the body is finished, I am not finished because we are not the soul. So when the gross body comes to an end, the Atma is still there. The Atma continues the journey. So there are so many shlokas, like in the Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, Krishna says so many things about the nature of the soul. And then there is a verse number 2.16 where he says that that which is born, that means in the bhava, that is temporary in the world. That which is eternal never, that never dwindles, right? The soul never dwindles. So the material world, it has its manifestation and its destruction. It is there for some time, then it is not there. But the soul is always there. And then obviously the nature of the soul, that it cannot be killed, it cannot be burned by fire, it cannot be moistened by water, withered by the wind, all those things are there. Then any kind of decay, death, that doesn't happen to the soul. And just like the body changes from childhood to youth to old age, and then the body is abandoned at the time of death. So that whole change that is taking place, the shadvikar that is taking place at the bodily level. The soul is not affected by these things. And material bodies in Srimad Bhagavatam also, it is mentioned in 331:1 that material bodies produce further bodies due to desire and karma. So this body that we have, that we are living in right now, the actions that we are doing, that is actually creating our next birth. And all Bhagavad Gita in chapter 14, Krishna says that all embodied beings are born of material nature. So then now it is up to us that what are we using this body for? Living beings are repeatedly created, repeatedly annihilated. All material forms inevitably deteriorate and perish. So, in essence, the Shastras clearly establish that all material bodies, because they are born, they must undergo the Shadvikara, from birth to destruction. The soul alone is free from these changes, which is why liberation lies beyond the identification with the body. So liberation can only uh, come when we are moving out, or rather moving forward uh, from this whole conception of that I am this body. Actually, all kind of problems that we are experiencing. Yes, physical problems are there, but more traumatizing, or more disturbing than our physical problems are the problems of the mind. The mind is so important that it can just, it can make a very healthy body also feel very ill, or, a person who is in completely, fit, healthy state, such a person can also start feeling useless. And that is why so much of psychological problem is there these days, right? What are psychological problems? They're basically problems of the mind, no? So the mind's contamination is actually causing so many problems, and that is due to the faulty and contaminated intelligence. That is why when we read Shastra, when we chant nicely, when we are in the association of devotees, the intelligence is purified. And then, with this purified intelligence, one is able to control one's mind, because the mind is very stubborn and it requires very strong and constant sadhana to fix the mind. All our pain and pleasure is actually in the mind. Like devotees give this example that if a student is in the canteen of the college and they are eating something very delicious like a burger or something, and that moment some friend comes and tells him that, oh, you just failed in the exam. Now that same burger will not taste good now because the person is depressed about the result. So those physical things can only give so much of pain and pleasure. It is more at the level of the mind. That is why psychology is such a big area of study. And that is why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that the mind can become our best friend or also our worst enemy. And then Arjuna says that it is so difficult to control the mind, even more than controlling the wind. So, what is the solution then? Krishna says through knowledge, renunciation, and vairagya. Abhyas, this practice is required. This practice of cultivating knowledge, renunciation, vairag, when we keep doing this, that is when the mind can be controlled. So when we start serious practice of Krishna consciousness, that is when the mind actually starts coming in control. It is still a big struggle. I'm sure we are all struggling with the mind, but I think we can all say that from the time when we started till now, at least some level of mind control does come. So this is the proof that this process works. You know, we don't have to go and prove to the whole world that I am doing bhakti, I am advancing, I am doing this, I am doing so much seva. We have to just look internally, that is my mind really in control? Am I more in charge of how I am feeling than I was earlier? Are those different tribulations in life, are they affecting me less and less? See, some major problems in life will definitely affect us severely. Even Arjuna was, after hearing the Bhagavad Gita also, he was greatly distressed when Abhimanyu was killed. All the Pandavas were. But that did not stop him from doing his duties. So the major catastrophes of life will affect us. But all those small, small, little things which probably used to trouble us a lot earlier, maybe they are troubling us a little less now. So that shows that the mind can be conquered. And if we want to make greater progress, then it will only happen when our sadhana becomes very strong. Because the crossover can only happen by Krishna's mercy. And Krishna's mercy will come when he sees our sincerity. And how do we show our sincerity to Krishna? Is by doing very nice sadhana. So our chanting, our hearing, our reading, our seva. We have to do this very nicely, very sincerely, and that will attract Krishna's mercy. And that is when we'll be able to get over this whole identification with the body. Okay. So, yeah, let's stop here today. If there are any questions, any comments, anything you would like to add about what we read today. No? Okay. So, thank you all so much for joining. So, we'll have the class again tomorrow. We'll continue from this point. Thank you all so much. Hare Krishna. Vancha
Hare
kalpatrubhyascha kripa
Krishna,
sindhu
Kripa Sindhu Devacha,
Nidanam
Patitanam
Pavnebhyo
Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah, Ananda Koti Vaishnavini, Ki Jai, Srila
Jai Shri
Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Guru
Thank you,
Maharaj.
Hare Krishna,
Mataji. Hare
Mataji.
Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Well done with Pranam. Thank
Mataji,
you so much for
Mataji,
joining.
where will get this about this Raganuga Bhakti, more about Raganuga Bhakti?
Mataji, it is explained in detail in Nectar of Devotion. Um, you want me
Whatever
to
you
share?
told Mataji today, whatever you explained about
Okay,
Raganuga
I'll
Bhakti.
try to find that in the book, Mataji, and I'll share it in the group about the different. You mean the differences between the different Vedi Bhakti, Sadhana Bhakti, and all, right? Vedi
Yes,
Sadhana
Mataji, and
Bhakti,
about
Raga.
these Ragatmika Bhaktas, you told about these
Okay, okay.
Ragatmika Bhaktas.
Sure, Mataji. I'll find that and I'll share it in the group. Okay.
Okay, Mataji.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
Mataji.
you all. Hare Krishna. Jai
Hare
Shri
Krishna
Prabhupada.
Mataji. Krishna Prabhupada. Vijay.
Shri Prabhupada.